What's up, gang? Kim Joyce checking in for another beautiful hump day. I got a dope, quick little show for you guys today. I hate to call it a show because really it's just a chop up session. So we're just gonna call it a chop up session. Um, this is I'm reading the book, the seven habits of highly effective people. Actually, I got it right here. So why am I bugging? Ooh, I almost fell. Seven habits of highly effective people. This is my second time reading the book. I don't know where I left off last time, but did I finish the book? The answer is no. I don't think so. Who knows? I found a pen in toward the end of the book, and I'm always either, you know, what do you call it, like folding down a corner or putting something in the book just to as a placeholder. Everything but a bookmark. Shout out to my mom's. She bought me some bookmarks, but where are they now? Who knows? But it doesn't matter. But I'm on the book for the second time, and I'm really inspired off of it. And I said something to myself the other day that was kind of profound as far as one of the other books I was reading. I was saying that, you know what, that book at the time, it was one of the best books that I've ever read. And then I'm thinking to myself, is it? Like, is the book the best book you've ever read, or do I need and am I yearning for the content that's inside of it? And as well, am I mature enough from a literal like reading standpoint, to meet that book's frequency? Because there's Warren Buffett, he had read the that big book about investments is fleeting my mind the name of the book, but he had read it once before, maybe when he was maybe 12 or 13 or something like that. And then he read it again when he was 19. Or it could be he read it when he was 19 and then read it in at 20 something. But I believe he read it when he was like very young. And then he read it again around the age of 19. And he was saying it was the best book that he had read, but he had already read it before. So sometimes you just have to be mature enough and at a space in which you're ready for the information, almost like you have to be at the same frequency. You put out goals into the universe. Are they meant for you? Hey, you try once, you don't get it. It doesn't pan out. Does it mean it's not meant for you? No, it just means that your being, the frequency of who you are, your skill set, your mindset isn't necessarily on the same frequency as that goal. So it's very similar as far as, you know, just making sure that you're on the same level. But anywho, this is the second time reading this book, and I'm really loving the information that I'm getting out of it. And one of the beautiful things about the book is Stephen Covey says, work on explaining it to other people. And, that's what I'm doing. I feel like it's going to help me understand it even that much more. And at the same time, I feel like I'm going to help some of you guys have some aha moments just as I've had. So, again, it's going to be a really cool show. But I definitely want to get into this. Like I don't know if this is gonna be for my vlogs. I'm gonna come out with a whole bunch of them. But this is the first YouTube intro that I made. So I want to go ahead and play this intro for y'all. Y'all let me know what you think. It's just gonna be a couple seconds. All right, here we go. What y'all think? Y'all like that? Let me know if you like that in the comments. I want y'all to go ahead and put some fire signs for me. Say fire signs. Put the fire emoji and put intro. Or if you ain't got any emojis, man, just write fire and put intro. Fire intro. And I'm probably gonna have a ton of them, but I'm really proud that I've been coming up with the theme music every episode, and I finally got something for y'all. So I hope y'all dig that. All right, man. So with that being said, we're gonna get into the gig. If you don't know who I am, let me give you a introduction. My name is Kim Joyce. I'm a singer, songwriter, performer, producer, musician. And I've been doing music for the past couple decades. Now, music has been um it's a calling, but more than anything, it's been a way that I've grown as a person, and just the trials and tribulations that I've went through, and as well, like, just me being able to watch the game film of my life and my music career and make tweaks here and there and just continue to grow as an artist. So as a person and as an artist, man, I definitely contribute a lot of this to music. But I've learned so much, not only from music, just from life, from reading, from having wonderful people in my life, um, playing basketball, like, I definitely feel like I have some nuggets. And one of the main things is you definitely got to be the person that you needed when you were growing up. So I try and put out content for you all. One, for myself to go back and get inspired on, because sometimes I could just go back and listen to a song and find inspiration. Not only that, but just inspiration for the words that I'm saying, because sometimes you know what you know but you forget, so it's good to have it out there. Also putting this information out for my son. I have a very young son, but in the future, as he gets older, I want him to be able to have something to come back and look back on, and as well, hey, I'm a servant, and one of the things that we are to do is to grow, develop our talents, to better ourselves, and then share that information. Each one teach one. So as I'm growing, as long as I'm in your circle, you growing too. You growing anyways, because it's like you got to be the change that you want to see in the world. And even if you never listen to another episode or see me again, the work that I'm doing with myself, it definitely is contagious, and it pushes out further than me. So I want to welcome you to my chit chat, chop it up, chop shop. I would call it a podcast, but I know people is going in on these podcasts, man, and this is like way more of a conversation, that I want to sit down with you guys consistently and just let you know what I'm learning about and have conversations. Anything that I'm talking about, you guys can put your responses below, and I'll get into a little bit later. But I have a Discord in which you can join and we can have these conversations, because you are some result of the people that you hang around, as well as like what you consume. So I want to make sure that I have that space for us all to grow, feel comfortable, and as well having just stimulating, sexy conversations just about life and growth. Yes. All right. With that being said, okay, I made some really good notes here, so forgive me for looking down. I'm gonna be paying attention to the chat if in case anybody pop in and says anything. But with that being said, I'm gonna get into the beginning here. So I already told you guys about the book. I'm gonna circle back. I do have I'm gonna just put it out there. I'm reading a book. Every book that I read, I put below. I got a list of books that I'm reading, so you guys can check that out. I'll tell you about it later. But yeah, 7 habits of highly effective people. The main thing that I'm reading about right now, they're talking about the lens, right? Now, you see the world in a certain perspective, and I understood that a lot of my life. But what the book kind of hit home with me is you also got to look at the lens in which you see the world. It's not just what you see out there, it's what you're looking through, and that's based off your perspectives, off your paradigms. um Now in the book, Stephen Covey, he starts off talking a lot about maps. So you're gonna understand, hopefully, as I started understanding this. He started off talking about maps. Now imagine you are in Chi Town. This is what the book said. You're in Chi Town. You're driving in Chi Town, but you got a map of Detroit, Michigan. You are fucked up. You gonna be like, all I'm trying to get this deep dish pizza, but I keep, I keep, going down like roads. They talking about every city got a Martin Luther King. I ain't been to Chicago in a minute, but I mean, these directions, they don't make sense. You're setting yourself up for failure. No matter how hard you try to make that map make sense, you are going to end up lost and you're not going to end up to your destination. Does that make sense? This whole thing is about having a map and trying to get to certain destinations, but understanding that the map that you have, what you're looking at, possibly may be incorrect, and you have to be emotionally secure enough, you have to be mature enough to take a look and say, hey, maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. Okay. Um, there's a couple different stories that I wanted to pop into. Number one, I like conversations with my wife. Every so often I'll ask her, like, hey, is it anything you think that I could be doing as a wife, or what is it that you're looking for? And I asked her this as of recently, and I feel like it's good to check in with your mate and see, what their thoughts are. If there's anything that you can do better, just to touch base. Um, and then we have a really good conversation, and kind of jokingly, I don't know how we got to the conversation, but she had said something to the effect that I was judgmental, and I probably laughed just like that. I joked, and I was like, "Well, you're probably right," because I know this is something almost like earlier today, like the forgot. Like I know I left something, but you can't think of it, but you know it. And it took me all the way to the end of the day to realize that I left. Man, what the hell did I leave? I figured it out. I left something of high importance at the house. And I knew I left something, but it's like I just couldn't put my finger on it. It's almost like that. It's like I know inside that it's maybe judgmental, but it's like, am I really? Am I really? I feel like I'm pretty educated, whether it's through institutions, whether it's through self education. I think it had some amazing people around me my whole life, had great conversations, and just had a lot of good information coming at a lot of different angles. And therefore, it makes me think like I have a very logical perspective, and a pretty good roadmap in how to get to maybe success and happiness or a certain lifestyle. But with that being said, I never, and I am getting better. Like I said, with especially with all the reading I'm doing now, but never has it occurred like, damn man, your way isn't just the only way. Why are you thinking like how you're thinking, and why is possibly what they're doing wrong? Mm, I had to take a look at myself in the mirror. Another thing, what I really like in the book, they were talking about having a kid. Me and my wife, we have a son and two. I never really even hung around a 2-year old, 3-year old, any babies that long, And as he's going through his certain stages, I start looking and saying like, well, man, he is having a little tantrum, and it's easy, just like in the book, to want the kid to behave a certain way because you're actually no, sorry, you're upset with a kid for acting a certain way or frustrated with the kid for acting a certain way. You got to ask yourself like, why am I upset at that? And I like in the book they took a look at the lens in which they're looking at the situation. Him and his wife had a similar situation with their toddler little kid. They were looking at the kid acting out, scared of how it will reflect on them as parents. So the lens that they were judging their son's behavior, or um, him advancing it in life, they took that a little bit too personally for themselves, as opposed to, hey, let me give my son space, you know? And I think a lot of times we do that. Um, another situation that I want to touch base on. And all these are just good situations. I might be giving y'all a little bit too much as I'm teaching right now. But it's like again that aha moment. I'm seeing everything right here. I'm seeing this conversation with my wife and saying like, damn, maybe I am judgmental. Why I'm being like that? Do I know everything? It's okay for this situation being like this. I don't have to control this. I don't know necessarily what's the best roadmap all the time. I can have as much good information as possible, but at the same time, let me just double check the lens in which I'm looking at that and make sure that I'm looking at it in a perspective that is good overall for the whole picture and not just good for me and what my idea situation looks like. Like we always have our idea of reality. Is my idea of reality the proper way? Like there's certain principles that unbreakable, that loyalty, honesty, um, just certain situations that make sense. Um, but at the same time, it's like the perspective that I'm looking at, is it based on that or is it based off of how I'm looking, how I'm feeling? Like, is it rooted in the the truths of all time? Like I feel like there's certain truths in history from whether it's the Bible, from philosophers, common sense, just your gut feeling, knowing, okay, this is how you're supposed to treat somebody. This is, you know, being kind, having compassion, like those certain things, they matter. There's certain rules that will stand the test of time. Sometimes we judge things though based on our own perspective and how we think things should be. And that's not necessarily the written rules of life. Another perspective that I wanted to get into is substitute teaching. And it hit me when I was talking to the kids about, what they should be doing. It's early in the school year. They're not doing much. Boredom is taking effect with some of them. I'm just sitting there like, we just got a couple minutes. You guys sit here. Oh, why we gotta do that? They get too crazy and too antsy. And I started telling them, you guys are acting a little bit too crazy. Everything's a lesson in life, and this is a perspective for them to get. I've told you guys about my perspective with my wife. I told you about the perspective from Stephen Covey. Now this is perspective I was trying to give to the students. Being bored, that's a muscle that you have to flex, to learn. I told them that the most successful people, they tolerate boredom the best. That was one of the best lines I read out of Atomic Habits. You got to learn to be bored. You could take the situation and look at the perspective of, hey, I could be doing something else. Why we ain't learning? Why we not? We could be going outside. I want to talk to my friends, or this is lame. No, this is the lesson. I don't care if the lesson is just sit here and don't do anything. I don't care if the lesson is stand in the line. You still have to learn to do this. I teach the kids a lot. School isn't just about ABCs and one, two, threes. School is about understanding timing, space, reading the room, being able to follow directions. Like we're trying to teach you all these things. So it's not just logics of numbers and letters and sentences and phrases and experiments. This is about getting you ready for life. Like if you can't stand in a line in school, then how are you going to drive? Like you just can't even follow directions. I don't even want to drive around you, and it's really just building them up to understand that, hey, you could look at this as being bored, or you can say, hey, this is what's being asked of me right now. Me being able to tolerate this situation, this bored moment, is going to help me to lock in on a boring task. I told him, you know how boring it is for bodybuilders to eat the same meal every day for months and do workouts and go to bed early and prioritize sleep and counting calories and drinking water instead of like going out having fun, drinking, partying, eating crazy junk food. It's like if you can learn to be bored in school, if you can learn to be bored right here or just sit here, then you can do anything. These are all muscles. So I just tried to give them a different perspective. Hold on, yeah, I'm checking in because I got my. Okay, just want to make sure I wasn't missing anybody. I see somebody up in there. What up, though? But yeah, so again, we're talking about lenses. We're talking about paradigms. Paradigms are like the the lens, the filter in which you're seeing things through. So what we're talking about, that's paradigm. I used to be like, what is that word? It looked like paradigm. Somebody please tell me. It still might be paradigm, but I'm pretty sure it's paradigm. But it's how you see the world, it's how you see things. Like, are you seeing the glass half empty? You seeing the glass half full? That's all a paradigm. Are you getting criticism, and are you taking it constructively as ways to get better, or are you as feedback, or are you taking it as somebody criticizing you, telling you that you ain't good enough? They trying to joe you, they trying to clown you. You know what I'm saying? You're not applauded on the work you do. No, it depends on how you're looking at that situation through that lens. Um and again, and then we have to wonder, like, why do we think these things? Like, why am I thinking of the glasses half empty or half full? Why am I looking at working out more like a chore, as opposed to being something that I get to do because I have the body for it? Why am I looking at work as I am working and they are dragging me to work? I don't want to work, as opposed to I have an opportunity to get money. Like, there's a lot of different ways why we think like this. A lot of times, some people say it's DNA, because your grandparents and your great grandparents were the way who they were. It's why you are who you are. Almost like five heartbeats. She was like, "You ain't shit. I ain't shit, and you ain't sh- shit. You ain't ever gonna be shit." Shout out to the Five Heartbeats being just one of the best shows ever that ever was on TV. But yeah, it could be DNA. It could be your parents. Your parents, they raised you, so what they think now is what you think. Religion is a big one with that. Whatever religion your parents are, it's probably what religion you are. Whatever detergent they use, it's probably whatever detergent you use. And you might think that that's the best, the way that they cook spaghetti or fried whatever. You know what I mean? That you think that that's the best way to cook it, you know, and that's a one way, one reason why. Another is the environment. Some people say you're a product of your environment. Like, oh, this is the place I live in. This is how they are. Everybody in gangs, so I ain't had no choice but to be in gangs. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you can. People say that they think the way that they think. A lot of people, they have blame mentalities. They're very dependent on the situation, circumstances, other people. They point the finger. You got these people, but you also got other people who are very independent and they take initiative. The goal is to have such a lens and such a perspective that you learn to be interdependent, that you're able to think independently for yourself, but at the same time, you're able to work with others and see their perspective, and work together, because there's no way possible being dependent is going to work, because too you're giving people and circumstances too much power of you. Being independent is great, but at the same time, you can never achieve anything just by yourself in life. You have to learn to be interdependent, and that takes a one hell of a perspective. So you have to be able to take a step back and look at your own, the way that your own perspective and the way that you're looking at things. um and yeah, paradigms, they influence everything, like your perspective, your relationships, what you think a husband or a wife should be like, um how you think kids should act, what schools you think your kids should go to, how you think that your career should go, what your vision and version of success is. um it was some other good stuff, man. Your goals, even your goals, you know what I mean? Like, again, if you think of the glasses half empty as opposed to half full, you know, you're already thinking that you're not gonna make it, or it's not enough. Like, looking at the glasses half full, you're never gonna be happy. It's not gonna be enough. As opposed to looking at it half full, man, we have enough. I'm hopeful, you know? You're looking at things the same exact picture. And this is another thing that I like about the book. And I know you all have seen this picture. Oh, I'm so glad I turned right to it. This is one perspective of paradigm shift. Where is it at? Hold tight for this one. All right. So you got the picture. Hold on. I know you guys have seen this. All right. You see, what do you see? You see a woman here, right? Probably. You can see maybe she's looking off to the side, maybe in her 20s, 30s, something like that. She might have like a nice little shawl on, hood over her head, nice little dainty nose, chin line, her necklace. Y'all see that, right? That's one perspective. That might be seeing the glasses half full, but the same exact picture, it's the same lady. She's looking off to the side. This is her chin line. This is her shawl. This is her, scarf or whatever she has. This is her necklace. But it's also, hey, let's reframe that. If I'm looking at it half empty, you see a witch with a big old nose, her mouth, her eyes. She also has on like a hood. Also has on like a shawl, but this witch is looking down. It's depending on your perspective. Like this is all based on your perspective of the same exact image. A lot of times you're looking at something. Somebody is saying, "Oh, no, this is this way." Somebody else is saying, "Oh no, it's this way." It's possible you guys both might be correct, but you're so stuck in your ways that you're not even opening yourself to see the other person's perspective, or you both might be wrong, or one of you might be wrong, but two people could be looking at the exact same thing and get two totally different results, outcomes, and perspectives out of that. And I think that that's important. An important eye-opening exercise. I think that could hopefully bring all that to light a little bit more with you. Um, but yeah, so let me put this quote here. I put this quote down from Covey. He said, if you want small changes in your life, you got to work on your behavior. But if you want big changes, you got to work on the paradigms, work on the perspective of your life, man. That's the main thing right there. Look at the big picture. Behaviors, like I love the books that I've been reading, like Success Through Positive Mental Attitude on Napoleon Hill. Those books are phenomenal. Magic of Thinking Big, all those books are awesome, but it takes more than just having a positive attitude about it. Because if you just have a positive attitude about being lazy, what if you're lazy? Oh, it's okay, I'm positive about it. No, you have to look at your perspective and why you think that way, and is that beneficial to you or for future you, for the people that's in your circle. Like it's bigger than just thinking positively and having a positive attitude. It's also like taking a look at your perspective and how and why you see the world and your life, the way that you're seeing it. So now you could shift this lens. You could definitely ask, like, okay, what am I telling myself? Like I said, ask yourself, well, hey, why do I think like this? What makes this logical? What makes, you know what I'm saying, like what makes me judgmental? I had to ask myself that. And why do I think like that? Why do I think that this way is right? Sometimes you got to ask yourself questions, especially if you ain't got anybody around to ask yourself. um then reframe. Try on a different lens. This is important. I know everybody got a camera. I got a couple different cameras. I think an 18-55 millimeter came with one of the cameras. You get like a regular nice shot. Then I had bought this 1.2. I got a 1.2 and a 1.4 millimeter. And hey, all y'all camera heads, if I'm saying it's kind of wrong, give me grace, okay? But I did have a couple cameras. I got my 1.4 up there. My 1.2 lens was stole, but they both do about the same thing. They focusing on the subject that you're focusing on, and they kind of blur out things that's in the background. Almost like if you have an iPhone. Hey, sorry, Droid. I know you probably got it too. But if your f-stop is lower, you can, like the cinematic mode on iPhone, you can like blur out the background and just focus on one person, and that puts that one thing in focus, as opposed to the 1855, which you might have more of a perspective of everything in the picture. The 1.2, it really makes this one little thing beautiful, and it makes everything else kind of insignificant. It still gives beauty to the overall picture, but it gives way more attention and detail to the image that you're focusing on. Now you also have wide lenses, right? Wide lenses give you a big picture, big perspective, as opposed to the micro lens